Hey everyone, how's it going? So today's unboxing video is going to be the first 6 Star Wars movies that this year in 2020, the best year ever, they were reissued individually on Blu-ray as well as 4K, but this is just going to be the Blu-ray editions. I don't really like the way they looked on 4K. So, as you can probably see here, they're still in the wrapping. I'll unwrap these individually as I go along because it's not really an unboxing video if I don't leave the wrapping on there, because how else will people know that they were brand new? So, initially you could only buy, if you wanted the first 6 movies, you could either buy the prequel trilogy together in a pack, or you could buy the original trilogy together as well as a 3-pack. However, they didn't come with the second disc, which had all the bonus features, so all of these are 2-disc editions. Initially, if you wanted to buy the first 6 movies on Blu-ray with special features, you had to buy one of these, which was, at the time, called the Complete Saga. Sorry, I just realized how much of a glare there is. So there you go. So there's that one. This was released 2011, so obviously before Disney took over, where at the time this was the Complete Saga. This is 9 discs, so it's got special features scattered on the last 3 discs, and what I'm going to be doing in this video, as opposed to unboxing and showing you that, it's also going to be half that and half a review. So once I unbox everything and finish recording this, I'm going to go and check out the special features that are on this one and see if you have the exact same special features on these ones. Just for some random trivia as well, in 2015 they re-released this with Darth Vader, so you know, it's different artwork and stuff like that. So if you want me to do a showcasing video on these, let me know and I can do it. I didn't bother looking to see if anyone else did it on YouTube, but you can go have a look. But either way, if you want me to show you, I can, but just know it won't be an unboxing video because these are already unboxed. It'll be a showcasing video. Anyway, let's get to it. I'll do these one by one, but what I'll do first is I'll just make a little incision on each one of these just to speed things up for me, so I don't have to constantly pick up this little knife. So, luckily that JB Hi-Fi had a sale on buy one movie and get another one free, so I essentially got 6 movies for half price. Alright, starting off with episode 1. If you're one of those people as well that wanted me to unbox these in order of release date, it's not like I'm actually need to watch the films for the first time in that order, okay? This is an unboxing video. Alright. So let's see what we got in terms of the disc. Another reason too why I wanted to do this is because I know a lot of other Star Wars fans would have the Complete Saga with the 9-disc collection with the first 6 movies. So what I was also wondering is, would these discs just be the same discs that were on that Complete Saga collection that were then just, what's the one I'm looking for here, just taken out of the factory and then they just basically put it in this? I think that was the case in America, but what's interesting to note is that from the unboxing videos that I have seen Americans do, it's just one disc, and I think there's like a digital edition, but as you can just see, this actually does have a second disc, so that's pretty cool, and that's got all the bonus material on there. Here we go, it looks much better. So on the other side it's just plain white, nothing to see here. So I really liked what they did with the Blu-ray edition of The Phantom Menace by making Yoda CGI and not a puppet. Usually I prefer practical effects, but with the prequel trilogy, I think CGI for Yoda was really the way to go, and at least it remains consistent now across all 3 movies, as opposed to what you got in the original one where it was puppet Yoda, then the next 2 movies he was CGI. So, alright, moving on to Attack of the Clones. The movie that brought us Jango Fett, and then we all found out Boba Fett was a clone. That's the one thing I didn't like about the original trilogy Blu-ray remasters, and that's the fact that they made Boba Fett's voice different. And I had no issue with the Kiwi accent or Jango Fett's voice. It's just the fact that I really liked the original Boba Fett voice. I thought it was a bit more badass sounding and menacing, and so to just kind of replace that or whatnot, I thought was a bit of a dick move, but you know, whatever. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, it's just a small little thing I suppose I need to put up with. Alright, putting that one aside, moving on now to Revenge of the Sith. The only one of these that's rated M. Which is odd, I still remember when I was 13 and Attack of the Clones was released in the cinema. From what I can recall, the cinema was rated M, which is the rating above PG, at least in Australian ratings. And then when it was released on VHS and DVD, it was also rated M. and ironically, as you just saw me show you, it's now rated PG on this re-release, so I don't know, kind of odd. I'm hoping they didn't remove anything from it, but anyway, we shall see. Alright, A New Hope now. I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can, but also not to try and be such a brute so I wind up damaging the case. I'm starting to think it wouldn't even matter if I didn't unwrap this stuff, because you don't get a little booklet or artwork book or anything like that in this. So this is really all there is. But anyway, at least now you know, and I can say for a fact, hey, you saw me take the wrapping off on the video, so this is definitely legit shit. Okay, there we go. Emperor Strikes Back. Just a fun trivia, if you did want to have a few versions because you're a big collector, you can go buy all these on 4K, and it's 3 disc. It comes with these 2 discs that are on all the Blu-ray editions, plus the 4K disc. But, you know, it's more expensive and I don't want the 4K disc, so as I mentioned, I don't like the tone of color. But if you're into that stuff, you can go check it out. Anyway, time to remove the slip. I have to remove the slip, otherwise it glares too much because of the plastic that's on the blue case. Okay, and the last one, Return of the Jedi. The one change I really hated, and it's not just exclusive to Blu-ray, they did this on the VHS versions that were released, I think, in '97. And that's the Sarlacc, the fact that they went and added a beak. By they, I think I just mean George Lucas. From what I know, it was ultimately his decision. He said he wanted to do that so that the thing looked more alive, but I kind of like the fact that it didn't look alive. That's what made it more creepy. It kind of like had this zombie-like effect of it, that it was sort of dead, and yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought that the beak just, I don't know, it kind of just looked a little bit dumb, but, you know, whatever. There's a lot of Star Wars fans out there, and a lot of them are going to have their personal preferences as to what they like and don't like with all the changes that were made to the original and then all the other versions along the way, because Blu-ray version's different to the DVD version, and the DVD versions are different to the VHS version, and that's different to the cinema release. I don't know if there's any changes in the 4K editions as opposed to the tone of color, but anyway. So, that's all. Okay, so it's been about 6 hours since I finished unboxing those videos, and just a quick disclaimer, in that time I went and shaved, and just as I was finishing it up, somehow I twisted my ankle and really injured it, so I'm in a little bit of pain right now, but I'll try and push through it, but it's cool. A little bit of this will cure the pain. Good old Coca-Cola, that totally doesn't have a lot of rum mixed in with it. Okay, so, let's do this. So within the last 6 hours, as I was going back and forth doing other things, I basically still invested probably a good 5 hours into just exploring what these 6 movies had to offer. And here's what I'll say. In order to do a proper review, I also need to do a proper comparison to this version here that came out 2011. If you have this edition and wondering if you may want to just hold on to this or not, if you should get the other version, because there's benefits to owning both of them, but ultimately only you can decide. Also, in terms of discs, this version is the same as this version as well, so if you have this one, well, same story. And if you're wondering, why do I have both editions? I don't. This one's my housemate's. Right, here's what I'll mention. And this is important to note. Normally when a movie is something like, as of the time I'm recording this in 2020, if a movie's generally like over 10 years old, a few years later or maybe several years after they get a Blu-ray release, they may get a 4K release. The tone of color used on the 4K disc is typically always different to what you'll get on the Blu-ray releases, and with this it's no exception. A few months back I did a review on the Matrix trilogy in 4K, and I stated that when I bought it and those 4K movies came out 2018, to my better knowledge at least, in 2008 they were released on Blu-ray and the tone of color is different on both of them. And so normally when you get a movie in 4K, they'll bundle it in with the Blu-ray edition. And sometimes that Blu-ray edition might have been the one that came out like years ago. Other times it might be a brand new Blu-ray edition, and what they do is they take the version that's on the 4K and just downscale it to 1080p and put it on the Blu-ray. I think that's what happened here with these movies that got released this year. and I was a little bit bummed about that at first because I saw comparison footage on YouTube, and I didn't like the way the 4K version looked, but it's not really as bad as the way YouTube made it out to look, at least with the videos I saw, because on YouTube it made it look like shit, but it's not that bad. So remember earlier when I was wondering if the disc was just going to be the exact same ones that we used in the complete saga? Well, they're not. So this is what it looks like for the Phantom Menace. Okay, the iconic duel between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. Not that he's a Darth anymore. Formerly Darth, now just Maul. Here, I'll show you what the disc looks like real quick with this one, just, so that you know it's not the same thing. And of course, it is pretty simple to just take the exact same disc and put a different skin of paint on it, but it's not what happened, because even the main menu looks different, and even if the main menu didn't look different, the tone of color in the films is different, so that's enough. So I didn't watch all the movies all the way through, because that would have been a pretty big achievement in a whole time span of 6 hours, right? But what I did do is watch some of my favorite scenes. Some of them take place at night, some of them take place during the day, and that really does make a big difference in the tone of color. Now, I have an Xbox One X, I've also got a PS4 Pro, so what I did is I took, let's just say with the Phantom Menace, I took the movie disc, put it in one of the consoles, I took the same movie from the 2011 version, and I put that in the other console, skipped to the exact scene, and then, skip through the HDMI sources, and, so I could have a look at the exact same frame as the movie was paused to get a different perspective on that different tone of color to see which one looked better. And so here's what I basically gathered. So all scenes that take place in the daylight, or at least scenes that involve sunlight, because you could be in daylight and still be like in an internal setting, but for the most part, anything like that in the reissued versions looked a lot brighter. And when it came to any scenes that take place at nighttime, or in an internal setting where it just completely blocks out the sun altogether, it was a kind of a 50-50. So in Return of the Jedi, all the scenes on Dagobah, in the version that was the reissue, they looked much darker, and it was a bit brighter, and you could see things a little bit clearer in the 2011 version. But for the most part, all the daylight scenes look brighter in the versions that came out this year. The Tatooine being the biggest example, in the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. In the reissued version, it's very bright in terms of the way the sand looks, and it kind of looks like your typical beach sand, or at least the way the sand looks here in Australia, but it had an orange tinge to it in the 2011 version. Excuse me. And both of them look completely fine. I'm not saying one really looks better than the other. It's going to come down to a matter of perspective, and for me, basically, I had to choose one because, I kind of didn't really want to hold on to both editions, but ultimately I decided the one that looked the best was, and I'm talking about all 6 movies here, were the ones that came out this year, so I'm going to go with the reissued versions. Again, you may need to do your own tests and everything like that to see which one you prefer, and of course at the end of the day you can keep both, or if you already own the 2011 versions, then you can just keep that. Speaking of the 2011 versions as well, you can buy them in a triple pack, so you can buy 1, 2, and 3 in a pack together, 4, 5, and 6 in a pack together. Those discs are the same discs that you get with the complete saga, that bundle. So the only thing is that they don't come with the special features. So if you honestly just don't care about special features at all, then the next thing I'm going to mention probably won't really mean that much to you, but most of the special features that were on the last 3 discs of the one that was called the Complete Saga are on these reissues scattered out over the 6 movies. There are 3 things, though, that you will get with this version that unfortunately are not on these reissues, and that is the making of Star Wars, meaning the 1977 one, SPFX, The Emperor Strikes Back, that's just the making of The Empire Strikes Back, and another one called Star Wars Spoofs. I don't really care that the Star Wars Spoofs one isn't on there. All that was just compilation footage of times that Star Wars was referenced in other materials, such as like Family Guy or that 70s show, and whatever. So if you really are big on the making and stuff like that, and you already own the saga, maybe hang on to it, and you can watch it again, and then also have this these reissues. So every other special feature are on this. And from what I could tell as well, there was a little bit more special features on these reissues, so that was kind of neat. Speaking of that stuff though, there are some Pinnacle deleted scenes that are on the DVD editions, and they are not on the Blu-ray editions, okay? And I'm talking about the 2011 and this year's Blu-ray editions. They're just, I don't know why, but they're not on there. So some of you who are big Star Wars fans might remember the scene in The Phantom Menace that was deleted, where Anakin and Qui-Gon Jinn are going back to the ship on Tatooine after the pod race is done, and Anakin's now free, and Qui-Gon turns around and slashes one of Darth Maul's probe droids in half, and then that's where they start running back to the ship. That scene I would have left in the movie because it really actually made a lot of sense as to why Qui-Gon and Anakin are running to the ship as Darth Maul's on his speeder chasing after him. But that scene is only on the DVD, unfortunately. It's not on the Blu-ray edition. And I was hoping maybe because this one came out this year it'll be on there, but it's not, so that sucks. There's some other scenes as well, and it's only, by the way, with episodes 1, 2, and 3. So this doesn't include 4, 5, and 6. Any deleted scenes that were on those DVDs are included on the reissue Blu-rays that came out this year, plus more. But just with the prequels, if you really care that much about like all the deleted scenes and you want to get all of them, get the DVD versions as well, because there's stuff on the DVD version that's not on the Blu-ray versions, and vice versa. So to get the complete deleted scene catalog, I guess you got to get both. That's how they get you. Other stuff. Let's see, the main menus are different, so, and that's also important to mention because with the additions contained in this, it was so frustrating to have to get around that. So you basically select the movie that you want to see the special features of, and then you go through this menu selecting a planet, and every fucking time you click on a goddamn planet, it goes through a cutscene for like 10 seconds that no one asked to watch. It's just a gimmick thing that no one cared about. And then within that planet you can look at the special features and revolving around like the special effects or the sound effects or other things like relating to that, but it's much more simplified in this edition, so I will give it to that. It's way less loading time as well, so they didn't really fuck around with any of that kind of stuff, and I appreciate that. In terms of chapter markers, sorry to keep doing this with my nose, but it's really itchy, and I don't want to be the classy gentleman that sticks both my fingers up there as far as I can to get that itch. But chapter markers, so sometimes if you have like a version of a movie that, like the same movie that came out in the UK and another one came out in Australia, if you want to skip to say scene 6, in one edition it might be 20 minutes in, and then another edition it might be 24 minutes in, but the chapter markers are identical with this, so if anyone cares about that stuff, now you know. But yeah, other than that, that's really all I really had to mention with that, but the biggest difference will come down to the tone of color and what you prefer. I did ultimately make up my mind that I prefer the versions that came out this year while watching Attack of the Clones. Mostly the scenes just before, Obi-Wan jumps out the window to grab that probe droid, one of my favourite scenes in Star Wars history, by the way, and also the Geonosis battle. So basically the tone of colour is a little bit monotone with the 2011 version. I'm not saying it looks bad, it looks fine, but the difference is I would describe it as kind of like raw photography versus the reissues, and that kind of looks like graphic novel illustrations. At least with the prequels, in the daylight shots, it's a little bit slightly darker, but it works. I think it's because they use the use of shadow and everything really well that it kind of gives a better sense of the lighting and environment in general. Again, I can't exactly explain it in a way where I can really coherently put in words as to why I preferred that version or why I think that's the better way to watch the movies, but again, this is something that you may need to go and watch to decide which version is best for you. At the end of the day, you may like both equally, but just differently, and want to keep them both, and hey, that's great too, more power to you. So I do remember though at a lot of the scenes that I was pausing through both editions and going back and forth to compare them, that it almost seemed to show that there was a little bit better use of colour, because the fact that they made everything a little bit brighter in the 2011 versions ultimately kind of gave you a little bit less variety of colour, strange as it sounds, but if you want to know what I mean, most of you probably have a smartphone, take it out, take a picture, and then put the brightness on it way up, and you'll see that all that colour and everything kind of just gets blurred out. That's kind of what happened with this, hence like the term raw photography. But when you read a graphic novel that's illustrated really well, the illustrations go into a lot of great detail, and the use of color is what really caught my eye for the reissues. Keep in mind, I'm also a huge fan of noir and neo-noir, and one of the things that they use quite heavily in terms of the presentation of that, I can't really say a genre, it's really a way to present the genre, but anyway, that type of film is uses of lighting and shadows as well as silhouette, but in this case, that's kind of what I got, like that use of shadow and everything. It almost had like this slight nod towards neo-noir, and I'm like, okay, well, you got me, just here, shut up and take my credits. Credits will do fine. So in closing, tone of color is different, main menu in the reissued versions is easier to navigate through, and if you really are into all those deleted scenes and behind the scenes stuff and you want to get the complete catalogue of all of those, well, you have to buy reissues the Blu-ray versions, and as well as the 2011 Blu-ray editions, or at least just rather in this pack. Like I said, the individual trilogy packs for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy don't have the discs for special features, so keep that in mind. Other than that, that's really about all I wanted to discuss. And a lot of the times in my videos people ask about the shirts, and sometimes I can't see all of it because it's cropped it out, but anyway, this shirt here is one I got from redbubble.com. It's just of Ahsoka and Rex. So Ahsoka, my favourite Star Wars character, and Rex, the character with my favourite Star Wars quote, which is, "In my book, experience outranks everything," which it does. And the writing at the bottom there just says, "I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me." So people that have watched the final season of Clone Wars will understand that reference. Well, that about wraps this review up, so thanks for watching. I'm going to scroll this down, and have a good day. Go watch some movies.